Hey guys, Clay Edwards here. I want to tell you real quick about RC Lawn Care. My buddy Richard Coley is going to be the guy you need to contact for all of your lawn maintenance needs. You can reach him at 601-502-3529. They offer roof-to-curb service, blowing off the roof, gutter cleaning, basic lawn care including mow, trim, edge, and blow, full lawn cleanup, trash removal, garden supplies delivered, pine straw installs, driveway and sidewalk pressure washing. If grass is growing, you need RC Lawn Care Mowing. Again, 601-502-3529. Richard Coley at RC Lawn Care, proud sponsor of the Clay Edwards Show podcast. All right, we are live. It is finally Friday here on the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran on 103.9 FM, WYAB. The theme song of the day, which I cannot play on the radio, was Tupac, Hit 'Em Up.
Did you see the Tupac raid thing? Oh, the video about raiding his house in 96 or something? They had something about, I guess they were a SWAT team searching his house. I didn't watch the whole video. I just saw the headline.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know it was his house. I thought it was a house affiliated.
That's right. It was a house affiliated. Okay,
yeah, it was a house affiliated with his death in 96.
Yeah, it was in that house was Mar-a-Lago. So they had to,
yeah,
had
to go get theirs.
They had to make sure they didn't indict Trump for Tupac's murder.
I'm sure they went to his wife's panty drawer.
That's right.
And the sad thing, that's not fight. They really did go through her panty drawer.
They did?
They did. FBI, federal booty inspectors. And that with the shirt saying Florida, federal body inspector, all that stuff.
Something like that.
The ones from Hot Topic and all that.
Yeah, that's right.
Who knew they'd grow up to actually be the federal body inspectors?
Man.
Look, if you guys want to chime in this morning, the Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. If you want to call in. A lot to talk about.
Yeah.
601-879-0002. I learned a new word yesterday, or a new phrase.
What was it?
High-tech election heist.
I've got that in my notes. I wrote that down. I saw Kingfish put that at his title of his article too. That's why everybody picked that one up.
When we were texting back and forth yesterday, it's what I sent you to. It was.
Oh yeah.
That was his quote.
High-tech election fraud.
High-tech election heist.
The election was stolen.
He used the word heist. He did not want to say stolen because it sounded too Trumpy.
It's too Trumpy. He just went with heist. It's heist now.
Because I was reading all the comments in live time under Other's video.
Oh, I didn't read those. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Everybody was talking about he calling him Trump or Trumpy or Archie Trump and just Trump.
David Trump. I saw someone call him David Trump.
Like I said yesterday on the show or whenever it was, I guess now Democrats believe in election theft.
Well, I mean, come on, Clay. Think about it. Like, it's two Democrats, so it's like double theft, right?
Yeah.
It's even more. Like, they're really stealing.
This black on black crime's got to stop.
It's two Democrats against each other. It's even more like both parties are stealing, right?
Well, like most crime.
Yeah, right.
Most crime. It's two Democrats against each other.
There you go.
Jerry texted in early this morning on my way in. I hadn't even read it yet, but why don't we start the show off with a bang? I saw your name in it. Let's see here. Give me a second. Takes this Google thing a minute to load. Because, it wasn't on Vox News, so Shaun won't see it. But maybe, as a former prosecutor, he can judge if this guy is credible. And it's something to do from a Zero Hedge. If Pelosi, let's just click on it. I was trying to read the link. It says, it was Pelosi, former Capitol Police chief, reveals setup behind January 6th.
Yeah, I'm glad Jerry texted in because he was part of something that I come up with last night to help David Archie. This plan that I concocted. And Jerry actually came to mind as somebody that would really help with this plan to help Supervisor Archie.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, well, if everybody has watched what happened yesterday, there was this press conference where David Archie now says the election was heisted, stolen, whatever you want to call it. And he claims that there was a worker at the Election Commission named Tony Johnson that she was involved in this. She had pled guilty to embezzlement earlier this year.
Who's currently wearing an ankle bracelet, according to the press conference, 37 times yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, so she, apparently now she has access to the voting system. I think it's called E, S, and S. Is that correct? Something like that, they said. And then David Archie's saying that she somehow was involved with the compromising the voting machines. There's ballots that are missing and all this kind of stuff. So the election was stolen, is what he is saying, and Tony Johnson had something to do with it, though he could provide no evidence to the press yesterday about what that was. I thought of something, Clay, last night. You know who could help him?
I have an idea. I have a sneaking suspicion.
I'm telling you. Well, first of all, it's our very own Kim Wade. No one knows more about election theft than Kim Wade. About voting machines, Kim Wade can help Supervisor Archie. But I also thought Kim needs some help, too. He can't do this by himself. So our loyal listener, Jerry, who is another expert on election theft and finding votes. Now, Jerry's in Michigan right now counting those Trump ballots. But he had told me that he found some votes for Archie in Wayne County, Michigan. So he's coming back. He's going to meet up with Kim. They're going to drop down on a rope in the Hinds County courthouse and find these votes and get to the bottom of this. But they also need some legal help. And I found out for that. I called Rudy Giuliani. He's going to show up, and they're having a press conference at 1 o'clock. Now, I tried to look for a landscaping place, but there wasn't one around downtown. So this is going to be at front of Greenbrook Flowers at 1 o'clock. That's as close as I get, Greenbrook Flowers. So Rudy, Jerry, Kim Wade are going to be there with David Archie, and they're going to tell us who stole the election.
Well, Greenbrook's a great place to do. Those are good folks.
There's good folks over there. I love Greenbrook. It's a great place. And I just thought it's the only thing I could come close to landscaping flowers because that was close to downtown, that Rudy would feel comfortable and that he says Jerry and Kim, who are election theft experts, know about how these voting machines work, and they're going to find these votes.
Well, I mean, look, if they're there, that's the team that will find them.
They're going to find them, and then Supervisor Archie is going to have his position back after Jerry and Kim get to the bottom of this. And, I mean, Kim can address this on his show, how he's going to do it, but he was all down for this plan to find these votes, because I think, he lost by, 1,800 votes?
That should be easy.
Jerry's got a sack full of those things in Michigan right now. He's carrying them back, because he's just writing Archie in. He's got the stuff.
He don't even have to write them in. I mean, he's named Archie's name's already on them. They were hidden.
They were hidden ballots. Jerry's got them.
Hanging chads.
And Kim knows about how the voting machines work. He's talked to these ENS people. He's got this figured out. The machines were compromised to steal a supervisor's race in Hinds County.
All I could think yesterday when I was watching that is for iota of a second, I wish Polo wasn't in jail.
Right. It'd be perfect for this.
Just so we could revive the Polo Archie rivalry.
Oh, man.
One last round.
Was that? I think that's on that website, Anybody But David.
Yeah, I mean, Polo and Archie. Polo's in jail wherever he's at, and we know it ain't Hinds County.
Yeah.
I heard it's Rankin County, somewhere out there, CMMF or whatever. Anyway, he's in jail with a smile on his face right now.
Oh, I bet he is. You're gonna have to explain to me what the Polo Archie rivalry. Archie's had so many rivalries with people over the years. I can't keep it all straight. So
I don't know the nexus of it, or maybe I do. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to jog my memory a little. When I became buddies with Polo, when I first started doing all this stuff, they were already full tilt in their beef. I don't know if there was a picture. I don't know what the fuse, what started it. But
started it.
I don't know what the nexus is to it, but it was wildly entertaining.
I kind of want Archie to find. I want Jerry and Kim to find these votes for David.
Do you remember the Archie late night press conference after they had Polo arrested and he called him Gut Bucket?
Yes, I do remember that.
I mean, dude, this is right there, and he did it. Maybe he did that on the steps of the JPD headquarters. I mean, this is right there with Gut Bucket. Yesterday will go down in Hinds County election infamy.
Oh, man. I hope this plays across the country and goes viral. Because, that's a new standard, Clay, right now. And I'm not just jumping on Trump. I'm just jumping on Democrats, too. Everybody, any race, it was stolen. Well, what's the evidence? Man, we don't know. We don't know, but it was stolen.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm a Chris McDaniel guy. But I really, really expected, maybe not from him directly, but from that sphere of influence to say there was some election improprieties if he lost. So that didn't happen.
No, he handled it with grace. I thought he was pretty. I
was pleasantly surprised. And I mean, look, if you told me there was some improprieties, I would absolutely believe it. I have been conditioned to believe that anytime a Democrat beats a conservative, that it's theft.
Well, I'd be more inclined to believe it in a statewide big race like that than somebody like compromising the voting machine in a supervisor's race. But maybe I guess it was for all the races, and it was a bigger plan. You know, they were worried about the tax assessor.
All joking,
that's why they were stealing it.
All joking aside, the thumb drive that runs all those things got stolen a couple years ago.
Okay,
on the local elections, the Hinds County.
Yeah,
and if you have the thumb drive, you can control the machines. So there is election tampering going on in Hinds County. Mm-hmm. That ain't.
So Archie's right.
It ain't speculation.
Yeah.
And I believe Archie knows where the bodies are buried.
Okay.
And I believe, like I told you yesterday, I was listening to that Archie thing, and he was way too informed to have just started figuring this out 24 hours ago.
Yeah, all of a sudden this is an issue. He didn't bring this up prior to the election, that this was possibly an issue, or...
Well, I'm just saying...
No, I don't mean like on you. I'm just saying, him.
Yeah, well, it's not an issue until it affects you, right?
Till the plan was implemented, I guess, right? That's the...
Yeah, I mean, like, I maybe would have brought this up ahead of time if you think Tony Johnson's meddling around and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Maybe bring that to somebody's attention. But that's not what I'm saying necessarily. That was a lot of... When you're talking about high-tech election heist, there's a lot of new vernacular involved in that, having to explain how they believe this whole thing took place.
Okay.
I have a hard time believing that in a short 24-hour time period, David Archie became a high-tech election heist expert.
I see what you mean. Okay. Yes,
he really knew how to explain.
He did. Yeah. Well, explain it with no evidence, right? He didn't really explain. He said this happened, but he didn't explain exactly what happened.
It just makes me feel like, they kind of thought this might happen. But I would have said something.
Yeah.
I will say this. I might not be making any sense there. It makes sense to me.
I see what you're saying. I get your point.
I'll say this. David's got a dang point about how did this guy that nobody ever heard of beat me? And Kim Wade said yesterday that don't be underestimating the underdog.
Yeah.
There's always that guy you don't think is a nobody, then come out of nowhere and punch you in the mouth, in so many words. And apparently there was an access road. It was a what's it called where the government takes land to build a road?
What's it called? Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. Apparently there was a bit of an eminent domain issue out in Hinds County somewhere. There was a private road that the county decided to take and make a public road. Okay. And it really upset some powerful old white folks off in Hinds County that know how to get things done. Yeah. That control a couple get out the vote groups and this, that, and the other. And I mean, maybe the high-tech heist was as simple as David effed around and found out with the wrong crew.
That's what I also remember the picture I took of the sign on Medgraver's anybody but David, and they had a website. I mean, there was always a sentiment that seems that people were out there to beat him. Yeah. Like there was a groundswell out there to beat him. So it doesn't seem crazy that this guy won. And I saw this guy on TV talking about it. He seems like a decent, normal guy. I mean, he didn't seem like some crazy guy or anything.
Well, I think it would. Let's just suspend disbelief first. Let's just suspend the part about the high-tech election heist, and let's just talk about...
You're going to wait for Jerry and Kim's report on that.
I'm going to wait on that. I like to wait on the evidence showing the clear. Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why it took me so long to talk about the Goon Squad.
Yeah.
David has a history of showing his butt, which... Absolutely. But I like that.
Oh, it's funny.
Well, not just funny, but I think sometimes you gotta rule with force. Okay. You got to show your butt when people are doing wrong, and I think Hinds County is messed up. I mean, and I thought he was the bull in a china shop that Hinds County needs. Whether I always agree with everything David Archie's got on these radio airwaves here at WYAB, I said a lot of things about white folks, but that was before I got here, obviously. Mm-hmm. And anyway, but I can forgive a lot of that if you're doing a good job, and I think David Archie overall has done a pretty good job. I mean, his list of accomplishments in Hinds County stacked up to any of the other board of supervisors guys. I mean, even if some of it's exaggerated. Yeah. Which who don't do that? I still think he had earned another another shot.
But his antics.
But his antics, and I think some people just got to the poll and was like, I just don't like all this. Same thing. If we're going to use the Trump theory,
that's a good example.
If we're going to pretend that there's this group of people who just couldn't stand Trump's Twitter, and they voted for Biden, which I don't necessarily believe that, but let's just use that theory.
Sure.
Then maybe that has a lot to do with it. Same concept. Like, I just want somebody to go do their job. I don't need all the antics. I don't need all the right mouth running, all that. And I say all that again. David was on the show last week. I like David Archie. But we're just going, these politicians, and this is a public event, so we're going to talk about it.
Sure.
And we don't run from anything.
I mean, and, bringing up Trump, something with the election stuff there, he was talking about that before. I'll give him this credit. He was talking about that before the election. I mean, whether it was a setup or whatever you want to call it, but he was talking about this stuff happening, or he thought it was going to happen before the election.
He said they're going to steal this election.
That's what he kept saying. So
hold that thought. Let's take a break real quick.
Yep.
We ran over. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran. We'll be right back. I'm getting into the John Sullivan stuff this morning, too, so buckle your seatbelts for that. We'll be right back on 103.9 FM, WYAB. All right, welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. This segment is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Guns and Gear. Man, get out there and see Hunter and the team this weekend for all of your guns and ammo needs. But, hey, way more than just a gun store. They also have all the accessories you could possibly imagine. Man, they got a Gatling gun out there. You can hook it to the back of your vehicle, and I ain't going to tell you what to do with it. But, I mean, just saying, if you need a Gatling gun that takes 9mm bullets, they got one. And, for the bang for your buck that you get, literally, it seems like a heck of a deal to me. If you need to build a fort in your front yard, you live in Jackson.
That's what I was about to say, yeah. Perfect.
You live in Jackson that's not in the Capital City Improvement District, South Jackson. This is a wise investment. Look, I would say, call our security guys over at Watchman Security Services. Go buy Guns and Gear, get the Gatling gun. Boom, you've got the most secure perimeter in South Jackson. So, all that to say this. Get out to Guns and Gear this weekend. Check out the Gatling gun. Follow them on Facebook. You can see all their deals of the day. Great stuff. They got a ton of used trade-ins or just used guns in general, but they do take trade-ins, and they do buy guns. Guys, you're in a pinch, ready for a new piece? Don't go to a pawn shop. Go to Guns and Gear. Sell your gun to gun guys. Sit around there, talk guns for a little while. It's just a nice, fun trip to the gun stove. So check them out. Of course, they also handle all your Cerakoting and gunsmithing needs, too. They're located on Highway 51 North in Gluckstadt at Yandell Road. You can shop them online, gunsandgearms.com. All right, Shaun.
Yep.
We left off at Trump talking about election theft.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about it before, and at least in that context, this all of a sudden just came out yesterday or Wednesday or whenever he talked. I mean, I guess the press conference was yesterday, but these allegations of the machines were corrupted and then Tony Johnson stole the votes or whatever he said, or, the evidence that he didn't provide for any of this didn't come out till, we didn't start hearing about that till, Wednesday night, yesterday? We didn't hear about that pre-election. That's what I mean. Like, why wasn't anybody talking about this prior to the election if it was going to be such a big deal?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Well, look, so we're getting some feedback on your Kim Wade and Jerry stuff.
Yeah. Bobcat
says, Shaun's attempt at humor failed badly and shows that he's simply a pathetic human being.
Well, I mean,
you win some, you lose some.
I'm sure my ex-wives agree.
Unknown texture here. I'll still never believe Chokwe won 93% of the re-election vote. Yeah, I said that on Facebook yesterday. I said, let me go on and be the first to say it. If Archie's right, Chokwe stole the last election.
Chokwe, I mean, yeah. I mean, he got 13,000 votes.
Yeah.
I mean,
93% of the vote.
Yeah, something like that. I forget who. I don't even remember who was running against him.
Well, now, in all fairness, and look, I like Les Tannehill. Mm-hmm. A white Republican ain't winning mayor.
No.
In Jackson. They talk about Trump motivating Democrats to get out and vote. A white Republican will motivate Democrats to get out and vote.
Yeah.
You start talking about fixing crime and balancing budgets, those are not words they want to hear in Jackson, Mississippi.
And I don't think he had any strong Democratic opponent during that cycle that I remember.
He had one guy, something Johnson, that seemed all right till the debate.
Okay.
And then he was like, oh, man, this guy was way sharper online. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I could do a debate. That's a different animal, especially if you're not an experienced politician. But it didn't pan out well.
Back in 2014, that's what they always say, that Chokwe Sr. won that debate between Jonathan Lee. That's always kind of like Jonathan Lee was kind of running, like it seemed like he was going to win, and then there was that debate that kind of changed the tide in that election. That's what I always hear.
Well, that and all the commercials on 99 Jams that said the Rankin County Republicans support Jonathan Lee.
Yeah. And Jonathan Lee's a good guy. I mean, he would be a good mayor, I think, too.
That was Jackson's last chance to get a guy in there that not as corruptible. Yeah. You know, that's not in there for racial reparations politics.
No, he would. I thought he was going to do just
free to land, blackity, black stuff. You know.
But I'd always heard that debate kind of cemented that election. I mean, that's what I've been told. I didn't even watch the debate. That's what everybody says.
Yeah, I don't even recall it. Let's see here. Unknown texter says, I live in the area. Everyone in Rankin County knew he was, we're talking about, yeah, we'll get to.
John Sullivan.
Yeah, we'll get to the John Sullivan stuff here in a second. Hell, why don't we wait? I want to wait because the way I want to clip up the podcast, I want to start the John Sullivan stuff at the top of a segment, not in the middle of it. So let's run down a few things real quick. So if you guys got any thoughts or opinions on the David Archie stuff, but hey, while we're talking about Jackson, how about this? How about that? You know, something we've been. I can't talk today, guys. I promise. I was at the salon late last night with my girlfriend and daughter. Watching my daughter get her hair did. Let's see, Jackson, the incredible shrinking city. Now, this is on, or it says the ever shrinking city. I'm sorry. This is on Kingfish, Jackson Jambalaya. He found another report talking about Jackson being a shrinking city. It says Jackson, Mississippi led the nation in rate of population decline from July 2021 to July of 2022. Many left cities in the Bay Area and Utah as well as St. Louis and New Orleans. San Francisco, which was the fastest declining city from July 20 to July 21, did not make the top 15 this year because everybody already left. The four.
Wait, what did you say? Which cities were those? I was pulling up the article.
Sure. It's it says many left cities in the Bay Area and Utah as well as St. Louis. And basically, people left Democrat cities they could afford to for conservative, for the suburbs. Is I think the gist of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think too many people will argue that.
No, I mean, except for Utah, I don't think there's not any liberal cities in Utah that I know of.
You would be surprised at Salt Lake.
Does Salt Lake have a Democratic mayor?
I don't know about Democrat, but it's a lot of white liberals up there.
Well, I think, I spent a lot of time in Utah, and I think a lot of people that have left the Mormon religion, every time I'm in Salt Lake, they end up congregating in Salt Lake City. So maybe that's they're more liberal than. Yeah,
it's probably more liberal area. Mm-hmm. Rumspringa.
Yeah, I mean, it's because most of the state it's Mormon, and
I know that Rumspringa is not a Utah, it's not a Mormon thing.
Okay.
What are those people that ride around on horses still with the big beards?
Oh, the Amish.
Rumspringa is an Amish thing?
Amish thing.
But I'm sure there's a Mormon version of it.
I get them all confused. I mean, is it the Mormon thing was the Jesus was coming to Missouri or something, right? Or something like that?
John Smith.
Yeah, I know John Smith, but it was something. I'm not making fun of Mormons. I'm just trying to figure out what the.
Do you know what Rumspringa is, though?
No, I don't.
And I may be saying it wrong. Okay. Obviously, it's nothing I ever did. So in the Amish, I don't know if that's a faith or community or however you want to say that, in the Amish culture, when you reach a certain age, there's a time you're allowed to go out into the modern world and do modern world things instead of churn butter.
Okay.
And go out and party up, come back, and if you decide to stay out, you can't come back, but you're allowed a Rumspringa.
Oh, okay.
It's a night out to make your decision if you want to commit as an adult to the Amish way of life, or you can just not come back. I think that's how it works.
Do you think those are the guys that stole the Hinds County election? If they had the one night they came out,
they have a lot to lose.
They go out and they come back. I mean, I'm just trying to figure the piece this thing together.
I figure like an Amish Mission Impossible here.
Yeah, that's right. They came in and just corrupted the voting machine and stole the election for David. I mean, for Anthony Smith.
Rumspringa 7.
Rumspringa 7.
Right. Completely off the rails. completely off the rails. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I may start hitting the bottle early this morning.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We're going to get into coming back from the break. We're going to spend the whole second half of this hour talking about the verdict out there in Rankin County in the John Sullivan rape trial. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. A little train wreck radio this morning. This segment, man, it's the weekend. You know what it is. Get out there to Acme Pizza and Daiquiris, 4 p.m. today until midnight. All weekend, 7 days a week, at least midnight. Chip Matthews ain't turning down a buck. You go in there at 11:59. You want a pizza? You gonna get a pizza. Tell them I sent you if you do it. Anyway, 9 different frozen daiquiris on tap, 12 different specialty pizzas, burgers, fries, pasta, and more. They got it all out there at Acme Pizza and Daiquiri. Try the dynamite balls. You can't decide on what pizza you want. Try the Wheel of Flavor. Up to 3 specialty pizzas on one pie. You know me, I like the pig. The buffalo chicken one is really good too. So apparently the surf and turf is well liked. Somebody told me yesterday, I ain't a surf and turf fan on pizza, plate, or anything else. Just give me the turf. Why call a steak a turf? I just don't like it. It's a terrible name for a plate. Surf and turf.
Where that came from, I wonder.
The Outback, I don't know, Florida, the beach.
Something.
That sounds like something Californians would do.
Yeah, I call it surf and turf.
Surf and turf. Where would you surf?
Jerry, text in and tell us where that was too. we don't know.
Jerry did confirm that Salt Lake has a Democrat mayor.
Okay, yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, every time I'm there, there's a lot of people that have left the Mormon church and they end up in Salt Lake City. I go there about every year, and that's kind of the general vibe I get from people that live up there.
Gotcha. Real quick, wrapping up the Acme Pizza. It's located right there at Fannin Mart on the Res, right in front of the bowling alley. And they are available for delivery on all major food delivery apps, including Take a Break Deliveries, locally owned, locally operated. Check them out. All right, Shaun, let's jump into it. Mm-hmm. John Sullivan.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Innocent on all charges, but guilty of being a piece of crap human being.
That sums it up. That sums it up.
I mean, I'm clear to say that, right? That's my opinion.
Not guilty, that's always the saying goes. Not guilty doesn't mean innocent. I mean, it just means not guilty.
Yeah.
And, I think the circumstances that we all read behind all this, and you followed it more closely than I did, and so did Therese, but I have read about it over the past year whenever it happened. And, it's pretty rough stuff. Seeing, especially these guys, an elected official, they got the public trust. I know that generally doesn't mean anything these days, but sometimes you kind of hope it does. You don't want to see your elected representatives in their 50s roll home with 19-year-old girls. I mean, I think that's a little.
Yeah, I think, and look, I'm not. These are things that he's obviously admitted to.
Yeah.
The oral sex, the this, the that, the jacuzzi, the whole 9 yards, the DUI leading up to it. There's a lot of things that are weird about this, and so I had not to toot my horn here, I'm just saying this to make a point. I had a source in the courtroom, maybe deeper. So I found out about it before the jury even got back out, and I knew the verdict before it was read.
Okay.
All right, so, but I waited a minute because I didn't want to be that guy, right?
Yep.
Well, then my sister's in the courtroom too. My sister texts, and it says guilty. They would just happen to be standing outside the courtroom door. So they brought them back in and read the verdict immediately. The family of the victim, alleged victim, did not even give let them know to come back in the courtroom. They had already read it before the family got to get back in the courtroom.
Oh, the judge didn't wait? The
judge did not wait. I mean, they said literally it was within a minute.
Huh.
It was done, over, and the family didn't even
Where was the family? Were they around the courthouse? Just hanging around the courthouse?
Yeah, they were on the property there.
Yeah.
They didn't get a time, nothing. I don't know who would be in charge of communicating that.
Usually there's the DA's. Well, I think here was the Attorney General's office that actually tried the case. And generally what we would do is, of course, this happened, I don't know, a million times or whatever, and there'd be the victim's family, and especially like a murder case and this kind of case, and you would get them to come back in the courtroom if they were there. I mean, some in many cases they weren't there, but if they're there, then that's something that you have. Every DA's office has a victims assistance coordinator, and I'm sure the AG does too. But I would think that they would have tried to get them in the courtroom.
So I got a text from several really prominent women out in Rankin County, some politicians, some others, and it just said this, and I posted this yesterday, took their identity out of it. But she asked me, did I see the verdict? I said, yes. She goes, disgusting. And then she says, as a woman, I feel less safe in Rankin County today. Not because he's on the loose, but because I've seen that they would let guys like him go.
I see.
You know, and that was a sentiment with multiple people that I had yesterday. This is classic, good old boy. And maybe the evidence from there. Okay, so let's look at this unbiased, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a guy, well, I am a guy, but if I'm a guy that's out living that kind of lifestyle where I'm out partying a lot still, and you know I'm single and I'm sleeping with folks, yada yada yada. You have an encounter with somebody. They're drunk. You're drunk. They say you raped them because their friends found out that you slept with them, whatever the case may be. Sure. But it wasn't actually rape.
Right.
There needs to be protections in place for people. There are false claims of rape.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can agree.
Yeah.
That happens more times than people want to admit that happens.
Yeah.
I personally, my belief is that's not what happened here. I have my reasons for my personal beliefs.
Sure. I mean, I think it's because, you know, we look at it. Well, the evidence that what we have is what's reported in the press for the most part, and you were in the courtroom for some of it, so you have a little bit more because you saw it firsthand. And I remember you telling me, or you may have said it on the radio too, but you listened to the opening statements by both parties, by the Attorney General and by Meredith Coxwell, and even the defense's opening statement. You said
was pretty damning.
That's what you told me, that you didn't, because usually it's going to obviously paint the defendant in the light most favorable to the jury. And you said that your impression was that it made him look pretty bad even on that end.
I thought so. And then he admitted to what they were charging for the simple assault, saying that he picked her up by the throat and threw her on the bed.
Yeah.
And all that.
And they found him not guilty of that, even though he admitted to it.
Yeah. And that,
you know, because that's in the indictment. I looked at the indictment this morning, and the simple assault charge is in there. So they found him guilty on that, even though he had admitted to that.
Found him innocent on that, even though he admitted
not guilty, excuse me. Yeah. And all I'm reading, of course, a press report, so I assumed that that confession came out in trial, that he said he did that portion of it. You
know, so I thought, okay, well, at minimum, you'll get simple assault. You know, probably no jail time behind that,
right.
But you'll catch that charge. I mean, they just found him innocent across the board. I'm like, what level do you have to get at for guilt, unless they're just saying it was kink and just in the act of sex, you pick somebody up by the throat and slam them on the bed. I've never choke slammed anybody onto the bed.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, the state's got to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I had a case where I was like, yeah, this guy is guilty. There ain't no way. And then they come back not guilty, and you're like, and then you kind of look at your own case and you think, well, okay, I could see here and here, and, you know, I didn't meet my burden. And that's the way, I guess it's hard for, everybody reads about this stuff, and it's hard for them to look at it that way, but the state's got to do that. You've got to prove somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And obviously the jury here saw some sort of doubt. And that's enough, or saw reasonable doubt, and that's enough.
Yeah, I thought it was strange that, and I even know this guy that slipped through on the jury that is an acquaintance of him. I didn't recognize him when I was in there. You know, we all get a little older.
Yeah.
Beards can be deceiving.
Right. There's a lot of hair dye out there.
Yeah. I look different today than I looked last time you were in here.
Yeah, you did. Hey, Don, I'm on the Just for Men bandwagon myself. I'm not going to hate it. You know?
So when you cut it off and the gray's back up under there, it's like, what happened?
You're like, oh God, I got to paint this on again.
I know. I was asking the girlfriend the other day. I was like, is my beard long enough now? I knocked it down a good bit. Is it even long enough to do, or am I just painting my face?
They got this washing stuff too now. If you know that you could do that. That's not.
So I mean, John Sullivan may want to consider growing out a beard and some Just for Men, because I mean, at minimum, he's a pariah in the community now.
Yeah, I mean, he probably is he still in office or is he out of office now?
Well, he's still technically the tax assessor, but he did not run for re-election.
Okay.
A new girl won, Stacy, I think. Not the person I voted for. But neither here nor there. I'm sure she'll do a fine job. But he is still tax assessor until the end of the term.
Is it the end of this year, I assume?
I guess everything resets in January.
Yeah. So, well, and then we talked about this a couple months ago during the Anthony Fox appeal, remember? And he hired Meredith Coxwell, Chuck Mullins, and I think I remember saying this on the show. If you get in trouble, those are the guys I'd call. So, I'm something I'm giving a free plug for them, but they really are great attorneys. And
noted. If I get in trouble, I'll be calling Meredith.
Yeah,
I don't know how I wouldn't be able to afford to pay him. He would have to be very sentimental to the calls.
Yeah, right. He's just going to help out. But yeah, they do their job, and they obviously, were able to pull that out here.
Let's see here if we have any text messages. If you guys want to chime in on this, the phone number to call in the show is 601-879-0002. And the text line, 769-241-1944. And completely unrelated, but since I'm looking through text, let me clean something up here. Rumspringa. Thank you, unknown texter, for the definition of Rumspringa. You're saying it's the Mennonites. I thought it was Amish, but they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Rumspringa is when young Amish or Mennonites are no longer under the total control of their parents on weekends, and because they are not baptized, they are not yet under the authority of the church. Maybe, I saw that movie Sex Drive.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't see that.
It's kind of like one of those teen road trip kind of movies, and somehow or another they ran into some Amish chicks or some Amish kids on Rumspringa.
Oh wait, I did see this. They all sound like the same movie. All those road trips, teen
road
sex
trip,
movies,
Sex Drive, all that stuff. So I just have this Hollywood version teen sex comedy movie of Rumspringa stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's a wild night out.
This is a wild night. I know exactly the movie you're talking about now. Okay.
So that's Rumspringa. And all right, let's take a break, come back, land the plane for the first hour. We'll shift gears into some more topical stuff when we get back. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I want to hear from y'all. What do y'all think, man? Was justice served in Rankin County? Was justice served in Rankin County? 769-241-1944 is the Guns and Gear text line. All right, welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Hey, guys, don't forget the Big Salad does catering, too. You need to feed a crew. Car lots, for example. If my friends over at Mac Hike are listening, feed them guys this weekend. You don't want them leaving the lot on a Saturday. All them guys and girls. There's sales to be made on Saturday. Got to make hay when the sun shines. Get the Big Salad to bring you in some lunch boxes. That's right. They do cater. They'll bring them to you. Or maybe you got to pick them up. Don't get me to line. Anyway, thebigsalad.com. They're located right there at Fannin Mart. Not Fannin Mart. That's Acme Pizza. They're located right there in Dogwood, in Flowood. The Big Salad. Check them out online. thebigsalad.com for all of your catering and lunch needs. You turn any of those salads into a wrap or get one of their great sandwiches, soups, smoothies, and more. thebigsalad.com or takeabreakdeliveries.com for delivery. All right, Shaun, we got about a minute left to close out the hour. An hour or two, I've got something I've been sitting on for about a week.
Okay.
It did really, really well on my Save Jackson page or whatever. It's what's more dangerous than a Jackson gas station?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So I want y'all to think about that. What's more dangerous than a Jackson gas station? Text in 769-241-1944 to the Guns and Gear text line. What's more dangerous than a Jackson gas station? And we got a few texts here.
God, that made me think of West Side Al when you said that. Okay, we could discuss that in the next hour. I know you know him too.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Steven says that he thinks justice was not served and that dude's a pedophile, allegedly. I know not legally.
I mean, it's pretty. We were talking about on the phone last night. Like the fact that he's in his 50s and the girl was 19 is just kind of tough to take.
It is. It is. In closing for this hour, Zach says it's totally ironic. Shaun just said not guilty doesn't mean innocent. It just means not guilty.
Yeah, it means not guilty.
Yeah.
That's what we said in the court. It's like it just means you're not guilty. It doesn't mean you're innocent. That's around every courthouse. You hear people say that.
That mean you didn't do it.
It just means you're not guilty. It doesn't mean you're innocent.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back in to the Free Range Human Show of Choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran here live on 103.9 FM WYAB. It's a finally Friday free-for-all edition. If you guys want to chime in, the Guns and Gear text line 769-241-1944. The phone line 601-879-0002. This segment is going to be brought to you by our friends. How about both of our car lot sponsors? We try to do topical stuff. You know, it's the weekend. You may be out car shopping. We'll start with our buddies down in Crystal Springs at Mercy House Teen Challenge Auto Center. Get down there, see them this weekend. If you're looking for something $10,000 to $20,000, they got you covered. That's the price range they specialize in. That's basically what a cash car is now, by the way. You ain't going to find too many under 10. So check them out. If you're looking to donate a vehicle, get a tax write-off for it, running or not, as long as you got the title, they'll come tow it off your property for you. Make it go away. Bye, Felicia. They'll come get it. You know, again, running or not, condition doesn't matter. As long as you got a title, they'll come get it. You'll get the tax write-off. It's a win-win. You can shop them online, mercyhouseautocenter.com. Tell them Clay sent you. If you're looking for something, looking for a pre-owned truck, something a little newer, make a little bigger investment in, but you're going to get lower miles, newer year model, all that stuff, I got you covered at Ellis Autoplex, right out there in Brandon on Highway 471. We call it Little Truck City because we specialize in trucks, even though we have less trucks and more regular vehicles now than we normally do, but we're efforting more trucks. We still have plenty. Don't get me wrong. You can check out our inventory online, ellisautoplex.com. Again, if you're looking for a 4Runner, I got them right now. We've sold a few of them. I'm down to 2. I got a nice SR5 Premium charcoal gray 2014, and I got a 2016 third row. Both of them actually have third row, but a pearl white limited third row 2016, 113,000 miles. Check it out on the website, ellisautoplex.com. And don't forget, we buy vehicles too. Yeah, bring it by. Let us cut you a check on the spot for it. It ain't going to be no counterfeit check. It ain't going to be none of this marketplace nonsense. Don't risk it. Come sell it to me, Ellis Autoplex, Highway 471 in Brandon. Shaun.
Yep.
Whew. Let's reset, man.
All right. Jackson gas stations?
Jackson gas stations. So that's the question of the day. What is more dangerous than a Jackson gas station? Rankin says Jackson's mayor.
I agree with that's a good yep. Win. Won the radio show and the internet today on that one.
Jackson teens, Jackson adults, Jackson lights, Jackson roads, Jackson water, Jackson. Yes. Bobcat says, what's more dangerous than Jackson gas station? Being an associate of Bill or Hillary Clinton. Oh, yeah. Ask Epstein how that went. Oh, let's see. Unknown texter. A Jackson pothole is just as dangerous as a Jackson gas station. It can be.
Can be.
It can, because here's what happens, right? You get a blowout, and then a Jacksonian robs and kills you and steals your car with a flat tire.
Or even if you don't get any of that, you still got to fix your car. Let's
see here. Unknown texter. I think she was somewhat responsible. Who gets in a hot tub with a 52-year-old man? You know, and to that point, we're going to circle back to the John Sullivan stuff here. That's not exactly the case. That's not how that started out. And I think knowing, and I'm not being rude to texter here, I think knowing, reading the whole indictment and keeping up with the trial and all that, you would learn that wasn't the case. She didn't even know she was at his house. She was there with a younger guy that had kind of recruited these girls. Hey, let's go back and party. We got a hot tub, all this, that, and the other. It happened way more often than you may think. And he didn't get back there. They'd already been in that hot tub for 2 hours.
Okay.
So he didn't even get back there till after he got through dealing with his DUI in Byram.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because he had the DUI and then he came back.
Yeah. So by that time, and you know, there's a lot of people say, oh, well, she was wasted. You know, get in a hot tub for hours at a time and you're drinking, it's going to exasperate that that buzz.
It does.
That drunk. So, just be mindful of that. She may not have drank that much, but you're in a hot tub for 2 hours, your body temps up, you're adding alcohol to it, it's basically boiling the alcohol in your body. It's going to have an effect.
That's true.
Trust me on this.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I've been there. Right. Yeah.
I have partaken in plenty of alcoholic beverages in a hot tub over my years.
Yeah. It's just.
And I'm sure most of y'all have.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody can relate to this one.
All right. Shaun, what is more dangerous than a Jackson gas station? What's your opinion?
I don't know, man. Y'all got some bad news out of Rankin County last week or so. It seems like a house in the country in Rankin County is more dangerous than a Jackson gas station right now.
That was the overwhelming answer to the question on Facebook.
Was it? The house in Rankin County? Yeah, that's a
black guy with a chair on a boat dock.
I mean, I'll take getting armed robbed at the gas station over the dildo thing, man, any day. I'm going to go with the armed robbery. I mean, I just don't want them to attach a dildo to a BB gun like these guys did.
Man, I support my law enforcement buddies to no end. I even support breaking rules when necessary.
Yeah.
Within reason. We discussed the other day.
I mean, I think we're 100% on the same page on this issue.
I'm okay with roughing somebody up sometimes. Even if they're already in handcuffs, you got to do what you got to do every now and then. All right, within reason. But when you introduce a dildo to the scene, I got some questions.
So do I. I mean, where did you get the idea of that?
You need to talk to a mental health expert.
Yeah, I mean, apparently then I thought
work through some issues.
I thought they had the dildo next to the throwdown gun, but apparently Kingfish actually corrected me on my Facebook feed and said that the dildo was actually in the house. Yeah, now, if you have your own dildo in your house, and that's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with having your own dildo in the house. I get that, but so these guys the cops use these guys' dildo and attach this guy's dildo. So they had to go looking for it, maybe, right? I don't think the dildo's just sitting on the coffee table.
I think it was found in another room.
That's okay, right? It'd have to be. Yeah. I would think. I mean, it's not just sitting there as a centerpiece. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, there's some crazy things on the internet. Yeah. Spartacus says long traffic lights are most dangerous in Jackson. Long traffic lights. He said the same thing twice. Long traffic lights, but you're sitting duck. I am always boondoggled at the amount of people who run red lights and stop signs in Jackson. Anytime I'd be going to my parents, I'd get off there at the Elton Road exit. Yeah. And there's a stop sign right there. There's always
I know exactly. We're talking about the one that's kind of shaded over there where the stop sign is. Is that the one we're thinking of?
Well, it's not really shaded. It's just in a weird.
The way it's.
Yeah, it's a weird area there because you got the frontage road, the interstate exit, same thing on the other side of it.
And that takes you up to Terry Road, right?
Correct.
Because that's where I joined the Marines, was that there was a little recruiting station right there. Do you remember that back in the 90s? And there was a Burger King across the street, and you could still go there. And that's why I know that exit pretty well.
No, there was no Burger King. That was Cooper Road you're thinking of.
Am I?
With a Burger King and a recruiting office there down there.
There was a bunch of recruiting offices, really nice building. Yeah. I thought that was Terry. Okay, maybe it's Cooper Road.
Yeah. So maybe on Terry and Cooper.
Okay.
But the Cooper Road exit where Whitten High School is would be where the Burger King was. So anyway, there's a stop sign right there. Anytime I'd pull off to stop there, if there was a car behind me, they would honk at me for stopping at the stop sign. Yeah. And I'm not sitting there playing on my phone.
This is like recent years.
Yeah, here recently. So people in Jackson don't like stopping at stop signs and red lights. And normally I would just say because it's just typical criminal Jackson behavior. Mm-hmm. But they are very dangerous. And I understand why you wouldn't stop at a Jackson gas station. Or, a Jackson red light or stop sign.
Man, there's ones around my house. I'm not going to name them because I like the guys that run them, and I really do, and I don't like doing that. But you got to kind of be strategic about, because I'm a gas station person. I stop in and get I hate to admit I just I got to get my tobacco, my dip, and I'll go and get it, and I have to pick which one because you can't stop at every one of them. Like there's just certain ones that you're like, nope, not going to run in there, and so you got to be strategic. It kind of sucks.
Yeah. All right. We got somebody who wants us to move on from the age gap on this. It says, y'all are going to have to move on from the 19-year-old and the 50-year-old. That happens all the time. She wasn't 17. That doesn't play into this case at all. It plays into the character of the person.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you on that. I mean,
it plays into the character of the person.
I mean, if you were just, like we were talking about last night, if you were like, you're 45, if you were like, hey, man, I went out with this 19-year-old, I wouldn't be like, man, that's cool. Like, I would be like, that's kind of weird, dude.
It's gross.
I mean...
But, I was thinking, like, to me, the most attractive women in the world are a 40-plus-year-old that's taking care of themselves. Mm-hmm. They can be in their 40s, say, looking still look young.
Yeah.
That are taken care of. And I think I've always been somebody that dated really close to my age. I think the youngest girlfriend I ever had was like 5 or 6 years younger than me. Okay. I think I was 30, she was 25, something like that. And I think that comes from having a younger sister.
Yeah, same.
My sister's 3, sometimes 4 years younger than me, depending on what month it is. And then having a daughter who's 21.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to date anybody younger than my sister because that was weird when you were young.
Right.
So she's younger than my sister. And then as you get older and you have kids, there's a certain, as your daughters get older, you're just looking at like that's your daughter and her friends.
Yeah, you're not going to date your daughter's friends, right? That would be like,
and I know there's weirdos out there that marry their daughter's friends or marry girls younger than their daughters and stuff. And that's just weird.
Yeah. It's true. Do you think they do it for like a status symbol kind of thing where they're like, oh, I've got this?
It seems to happen in the medical community a lot. These doctors seem to, they're married to the original wife that they have their kids with, and then they end up dating down, not looks wise, but age wise, dating down. They jump back a generation down to somebody their daughter's age or younger.
But you just made a good point. It's never somebody broke that's doing that, though.
No.
It's not somebody broke. Like, if you're picking up trash on the side of the road and you're like 55, like, you're not going out with a 21-year-old girl.
Yeah, and it may happen with lawyers. I don't know. Maybe you can answer that, but I know.
I've seen it, yeah.
But it seems to happen in the medical community. I hear about it a lot in the medical community.
So it all just relates to wealth status, I guess, and who's pulling that off.
Young girls are attracted to guys with money. Guys are attracted to young girls that are.
And I guess the tax assessor. He's got power, political. I don't know what
Man, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I didn't even know what the hell a tax assessor was. I don't know. I don't know the difference in the assessor and the collector. I kind of do.
Right. One assesses the value of it. But I know the particulars. Right. I know what you mean.
That 19-year-old girl ain't a property owner or a business owner. She ain't got no.
She doesn't know did you know what the tax assessor was when you were 19? Like, you never heard of that? No.
And I got questions as to why is the tax assessor living so nice.
Was the house pretty nice?
Apparently. That's what everybody keeps telling me. Oh, she got out there and saw it was a nice house, and it's supposed to be. She was just going for his money. Like. I just don't believe that.
Yeah,
I don't think that if you look at the whole thing as a whole, I don't believe that.
That she was just that she was 19.
The way the whole night played out.
If she was like 35, you're like, I kind of get it. But at 19 does seem like.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of 19-year-olds are thinking that far ahead.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I don't think they're planning out their future, like all that stuff.
I'm gonna settle this old bastard down.
Yeah, right. By the time I'm 30, he's 75, and everything's good.
Yeah, I know Anna Nicole tried that.
Yeah. But she was older though.
Yeah, she was in her 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
And married a 90-year-old.
But by the time you're in your 30s, you got to make a plan. You got to, I get it. I'm not hating on her. I'm just saying you got to make a plan. But when you're 19, there's no plan.
Yeah, I just think too many people are going to old tropes and just assuming, she was going for his money. What? I just don't. How does she know she had money? Yeah, how did she come to the conclusion that he had money?
Right. Yeah, I get what you mean. It just, and I think also the reason you're saying this and I'm saying this is because reading things he said were pretty. He just had a DUI. Then he comes back and all this happens. It's just a weird set of circumstances.
Yeah, he sat there. He sat there on the recording with the cops in Byram. And referred to those 4 girls in the truck as a truck full of whores. Right, yeah. That's what I mean. Like, he was going to have a night of jacuzzi, sex, and lust. And he didn't use the word sex, he used the P word.
Right, yeah. If he, let me put the scenario this way. If he had, met a 19-year-old girl and then they went to dinner or something, and then they ended up hooking up afterwards, I think you'd probably think about it. Wouldn't think it was good, but it may be more acceptable than the circumstances that derived from this.
Yeah, if any of y'all are expecting sympathy for John Sullivan from Clay Edwards, you need to change the radio station. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I'm just saying the circumstances of it. I think would be different if it were maybe a different kind of
I properly reported the verdict. He had legally by the law, letter of the law, he is innocent of those charges. He is guilty of being a bad human being, and I know other things too. That, for legal reasons, I don't want to say on the radio. Just other things about this dude. From other people, this, that, and the other. No one incident brought me to this conclusion.
Okay. But the incident wasn't good. I mean, just even without, like, if there was no trial or like they just never charged him and you heard the incident, you'd be like, God, that's a really messed up night.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I want to throw this out there too. This ain't an indictment against, I said this the other day, even with the Deadman family. This ain't an indictment on the rest of the family.
Oh, yeah.
This is just him. If you know his family and all that and the other, and I've had people tell me that they know the family and this, that, and the other, and that's fine. This is strictly insularly about there's a word I'm trying to find out. Particularly only about him.
Yeah.
So anybody else, sorry if you're offended, but I ain't sorry, not sorry.
I mean, also, I don't think it, for you or me or anybody else saying like, hey, look, the guy's in his 50s, the girl's 19, it's kind of weird. I mean, is that weird to say that? I mean, I don't see what's wrong about us saying that.
Yeah.
Like that's a weird scenario. I mean, I get it happens. A lot of things happen
Yeah.
that, you're kind of like, okay, that's a little odd, but I mean, I'm not saying he's the first 50-something-year-old guy to go out with a 19-year-old. That's not true.
No.
But the circumstances of it just seem a little odd, I don't mean just the age gap, but the whole what happened with the DUI and the things he said. I mean, I think it just doesn't sound good. I mean,
he's also a Republican politician.
There you go.
In Rankin County.
Yeah.
Where it's all supposed to be about God, family, good and high standing morals.
I love Jesus 27% more than my opponent. Yeah, all that stuff.
I mean, there's a lot that plays into this. Is that I'm sure the people that voted for him didn't know that he lived a lifestyle like this.
Does he have a God, family, country kind of commercial?
I've never seen
Did
it.
you see it?
He may not have a commercial. I don't know. Maybe we can Google it and find one. I don't know. I'd never heard of him until this night. And obviously, I've done a lot of investigating. I say investigating, but a lot of inquiring with people that know him since this all happened. Because I find it curious. I find it interesting. We give Jackson, again, I've said it a million times this week. I'm going to say this and we got to take a break. We attack Jackson with ruthless aggression.
Yeah.
And I get accused of ignoring the stuff that happens in the counties. I don't ever want to hear that I ignored stuff in the counties again.
Yeah, last week that's all we've been talking about, hasn't it? Pretty much.
I mean, I think this David Archie stuff's the first time we've talked about Jackson.
But that was just such epic gold. I mean, that we couldn't. I mean, I watched it twice.
And I'm not trying to virtue signal here either. I'm trying to make a point that when it rises to the occasion to be talked about, we'll talk about it. Yeah. And I think the Goon Squad deal and this with John Sullivan have risen to the occasion that we're not going to stick our heads in the sand and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, I guess you can, right? When you're talking about dildos and rape cases, I mean, all in like a week, it's out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil known as Rankin County. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Hey, how about a quick happy birthday to one of my favorite people out there, one of my favorite constables out there. I can't call him my favorite because there's always my boy Glenn Dixon. I grew up with Glenn. Glenn's my dog. But happy birthday to my other favorite, Mr. Wyndham out there. That's right. Mr. Gary Wyndham, happy birthday to you, brother. A constable out there in Rankin County. Listens to the show all the time.
Happy birthday, Gary.
So shout out, Gary. I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? I ain't done this in a while. I got my Facebook pulled up. Let's see whose birthday it is that may be listening to the show this morning. Let's see here. I don't know. That's probably about it.
You're like, all my friends aren't listening.
I don't know. I don't know too many of these people. Clayton Kelly. I know Clayton. He makes awesome pizzas on Facebook. Clayton, if you're listening, bring me one of them pizzas. Oh yeah, man. My buddy, Mr. Hamilton out there with the Richland Police Department. Happy birthday to you. So, and Chelsea. I don't know if Chelsea listens. I used to work with her. Happy birthday, Chelsea. Happy birthday, Kayla Williams. I worked with her husband for a while, so who knows? Maybe they're listening, maybe they're not. If they are, happy birthday from the Clay Edwards Show. So, hey, look, and I'll tell y'all, man, I'm never too big for my shoes where I won't wish a happy birthday to somebody. Like if it's your kid's birthday, y'all riding in the car. If it's your husband or wife's birthday, and they're going to be listening, just shoot me a text on the Guns and Gear text line, Facebook, wherever. And just let me know. I don't mind wishing folks a happy birthday. I still think that's cool when you hear your name on the radio.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I mean, it was cool. Just don't get it to the Tate level. Remember when Tate was reading birthdays during the pandemic, and I think, what did he say? Harry Dong. It's like, happy birthday, Harry Dong.
It was worse than that.
It was worse than that?
Yeah.
Now I know what it was.
It.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say it because I've said enough this morning, but, so, yeah, I remember now. It was something like that.
Yeah. We've set a record. We've set a record for how many times Dildo's been said on the radio this morning.
And that is relevant to the actual news,
Yes.
because that's something that happened. That's why I just keep saying it.
Family-friendly radio here.
Family-friendly
radio. Let's see here. Any text that I need to clear up? Yes. Carl Ray says, I've been in Rankin County, Pearl Brandon area for over 45 years, and I've never heard of him, John Shirley. I feel like I'm missing a text there. He must be talking about John Sullivan, not John Shirley. I'm sorry. Yeah, Carl Ray. I'm with you. I think that's a lot of people. Reagan says something has happened to drivers in Jackson recently. They run red lights far more often than even 3 years ago. On Woodrow Wilson and Flowers Ave, a car flew around me and about 6 cars at over 70 miles per hour and ran through a clear red light. Had someone who had the green light been driving through the intersection, someone would have been killed. I witnessed someone running a red light every day. It does. It happens all the time. Let's take a call real quick.
Yep.
Hey, you're on there.
Yeah, I was wondering, did you realize how quick the governor's results come back? How is that possible?
What the governor
On the Tate Reed.
I know, boy. They closed that one. They called that race early, didn't they?
Quick.
I tell you, John Witcher got a lot, 50, 60,000 votes, man. That is a heck of a protest vote for what's basically, I know he was running as a Republican, but basically a third-party candidate.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
That's a showing. You know, I said it on the radio sometime this week. I don't think Dr. John, I may be wrong here. I think I'll be right. I don't think Dr. John's one of these guys that's just going to go away that lost an election. I think he had a good enough showing that he needs to consider running for representative or Senate or something like that, city council. I think he can make a difference. I think he needs to start with something that ain't governor. And he may have a chance. I mean, governor's a lot to ask, but here's what that does. Some people would say, why would you run for something that you know you can't win? Well, let's just pretend that that's the case, that you knew you can't win. You know what it does? When you're able to run that kind of campaign, raise that kind of money, and get 50,000 votes statewide against Tate Reeves, it shows that
a lot of people is mad against the governor.
Well, that too, but it shows that you have the ability to get people active. So
right.
You activate people. That's why Chris McDaniels gets people going, man. He's gotten 150,000 votes or so the 3 statewide elections he's ran, 4 statewide elections he's ran. I mean, people are consistently Chris McDaniels supporters. So good job, Dr. John. I don't think he's going away. I think he'll be around, and that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next decade.
It needs to change, but I was just stressed out how fast the results. I'm talking about right at 30, 40 minutes after the polls closed.
Yeah, I'm sure it has something to do with which precincts had already reported, which areas, and there's like, well, if those carried Tate, we know these traditionally are going to, so on and so forth. It's typically how they look at that.
All right, appreciate your time. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a good weekend. I was going somewhere else with what I was trying to say about him getting 50,000 votes, and I've had a complete brainwashing over here and do not remember where I was trying to carry that to.
Yeah.
But it still shows. I mean, I still made a point, but that was not the point I was trying to make. I was building up for something good over here, and just complete.
It's Friday.
I got men in blacked. Somebody hit me with the little silver dong.
Yeah. Well, see, now it's sounding like we were talking about. You know what? I'm trying to limit the amount of times. I think I said my limit of that word on the radio for this morning.
Yes, I'm sure it is nails down a chalkboard in the other room here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sorry. It was in the bill of information. It's a matter of public record now.
David says tomorrow is his birthday. Well, happy early birthday, David.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Heather chimes in here. We're going to circle back to the John Sullivan stuff real quick.
Okay.
Heather says they had been in the hot tub all that time before he showed up and stood outside his own front door for at least 8 minutes waiting for his son to take the only grown woman there away before he walked in the house and poked his head out the back door. Then the lights go out less than 30 seconds and gets in the hot tub butt naked. The whole thing was a 30-minute encounter. 19-year-olds don't give a rip who the tax assessor is or know that what they even do. The cool factor is zero. I concur 100%. Yep. She says the house was average, nice. There was nothing that gave the impression of big money. This is a person close to the victim. I know this for a fact.
Yep.
And that's the point. I think people trying to say that this girl was chasing money. I think y'all are wrong. I want to know. I want to know too if you have daughters and you think that. Because I think once you have daughters of a certain age, I think your opinion on this changes, and maybe it taints my opinion to it in some extent. But I'm telling you what happened that night, what happened in that courtroom, what happened through this trial. There was just some questionable things that weren't allowed in that should have been. I got some questions about the jury. I got some questions about why the verdict was read before the family was even allowed back in the room. Why was there a juror allowed on that knew the victim? What kind of vetting? Shaun, you've done this. Mm-hmm. Let's take a break real quick, though. Come back. I want to talk about the vetting of jurors.
Sure.
And how this can happen. Is it easier than we think? So hold that thought. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran. All right, we are back live here on 103.9 FM WYAB. One day I'll say this. One day we'll be able to we'll do an uncensored podcast, and we'll carry these off-air conversations on air. Good times. Hey, real quick, this ain't an ad read. This is a kick in Jackson's butt. Our buddy Ryan that calls to the show just posted on Facebook. He says it's day 5 without a Jackson public school bus to pick up kids in their community. He says, my child has been let down 5 days straight. This would have been the first time riding the bus. JPS, somebody with JPS, what's going on? Why ain't your buses picking kids up? What's going on? Let us know. I'm not sure what area Ryan lives in. If he wants to call in, if he's listening, Ryan, please do. 601-879-0002. Shaun.
Yep.
What we asked about in the last segment was, so you were being a former ADA, assistant district attorney. You've done a lot of jury picking, a lot of jury selection.
Yeah.
So let me break this down. There was 12 guys, 2 women. I think 1 woman was an alternate, something like that.
Yeah.
How do you have a rape trial without more women? What would be the thought process of that?
Well, I mean, sometimes just the way the thing shakes out, man.
The jury.
I mean, you just you bring a bunch of people that they called in for jury service. They break them up, at least the way they did in Hinds County. You break them up into panels, and you got to get down to 12. And you have in a case that would involve, like most of my cases I tried were murder cases, so life imprisonment was the penalty. And so in that case, you get what's called 12 preemptory challenges, and you can strike a jury for any reason that's race neutral. Like you can't strike someone because they're white, or black, or you can't do that.
So, like if Clay Edwards showed up to a Hinds County jury and the defendant was black, I could just say I don't like black people and get on out of there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that.
That's not true. I'm just using it as an example.
I mean, I think
if Save Jackson walks in there with my reputation, I'm probably not going to get picked by the defense.
I mean, I think obviously the defense could use a preemptory challenge on you, and I think there's obviously a challenge for cause there too. But because you have an unlimited challenge for cause in a case where there's not the possibility of death or life imprisonment, it's 6 preemptory challenges and still unlimited challenges for cause. So I think this case was a sex battery, and the max on that is 30 years on each count. I believe that's correct. So I think they would have gotten 6 anyway. So they can use those any way they want to as long as it's race neutral. And then they have, unlimited for cause. Like let's say somebody was John Sullivan's cousin, and it comes out during the process, which is called voir dire. The process is called voir dire. And while you're doing that, and the first questions you're going to ask is you're going to say, has anybody heard about this case? And him being a tax assessor, they probably did because he's an elected official. And then you'd say, based upon what you've heard, have you formed an opinion of the case? And then a lot of people are going to raise their hand. And then you kind of go one by one, and you'll say, based upon that opinion, can you still be a fair and impartial juror? And some people will say, yes, I can. Most of them usually do. And then some will say, no, I can't. And then that can give you another challenge for cause. So, because people just have opinion one way or the other. In a case like this, I assume that they, it's Rankin County, so they're asking, and they ask us in every trial, like, are you related to this guy? And I'm sure there was a lot of people that were, so I would have thought all those people would have been challenged for cause on that, I would think. But
I'm just going to say, I guess I'm permanently working my way out of jury duty here. Whether it's Rankin County, Hinds County, if it's a little Democrat, they're guilty as hell. If it's a little patriot, innocent.
That's you can't be fair and impartial.
I cannot be.
Well, that's what we were talking about at the break about the Trump trial, and I've said this since the beginning of.
Actually, I could be. I want to get out of jury duty.
Yeah, you just want to get a jury.
People do that too. I want to go on record here of saying that I'm going to be impartial. I'm not going to be.
You're not going to be fair and impartial.
Yeah.
It's funny because during sometimes I do voir dire and I, as quick as I could, I'd try to look up certain people on Facebook, and occasionally somebody would post something like, I don't want to be here at this jury duty. This is just terrible. I can't stand listening to these.
Picked.
Yeah, I can't stand listening to these boring lawyers. And so we'd strike them, and that kind of like leads us in the Trump thing. I've always said for the last few years while they're investigating him, like, how do you get 12 people? Well, you're not going to get 12 people that haven't heard about the case. We know that. That's out the window. And you're not going to get 12 people that haven't formed an opinion about the case, because we know everybody's got an opinion one way or the other. And so can you find 12 people that are going to say, yes, I'm going to be fair and impartial one way or the other to Donald Trump? I always thought that was going to be really just a difficult task to do that.
It's going to be very difficult. I think if we're going to pretend it's not a banana republic for a minute, I know what everybody's saying about D.C. I mean, obviously Trump's going to have good lawyers.
Yeah.
That obviously have a part in.
Maybe you should hire Meredith Coxwell.
Maybe so.
I
mean, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
So I think even in D.C. they're going to have a hard time getting a jury that I think is all 12 going to hate Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an obvious possibility. I think it's more likely than not.
All it takes is one for a hung jury, right?
Yeah, I mean, does it take one? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's more likely than not. Where one person says
it's unanimous or hung.
You're right. I mean, in that context, so I would think it's going to be hard in D.C. or I think anywhere. I mean, not just D.C. I know D.C. is obviously Democratic, so more likely that people didn't vote for Donald Trump. But even in Miami-Dade, there's going to be people that don't like him. Even then, that's a favorable county for him, that people do like him. But there's still going to be people that don't. I mean, it's just so everybody has an opinion about Donald Trump. Whether way,
All right, hold that thought. I like where you're going there, but we got a question from the friend of the alleged victim's family here. And I'm glad she brought this up because it was the question I was going to ask before we went down the jury rabbit hole.
Yeah.
She goes, ask Shaun about the jurisdiction, please. The case being held in Rankin County, literally next door to his office. Now, the AG's office prosecuted this thing, right? But it was in Rankin County. It's got to be in Rankin County, right?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it happened in Rankin. I mean, they could have done would it have benefited anybody to have done a move of a
change of venue?
Yeah.
The state can't do that, though. It's the defense's right to do that, and there's certain circumstances that you have to do it for, and so the state can't. That actually, I think, came up on a challenge recently where the state and some DA's office tried to do that, but the state can't move for a change of venue. It's the defendant's right, and they have to do it. So obviously, if I was John Sullivan's lawyer, I'm not going to move for a change of venue for a guy that's been popularly elected in Rankin County.
True,
there's all these people that voted for him that's going to be on that jury.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey. And I guess there's no way to know if somebody voted for him. You can't go pull the voter. That's a privacy.
You
can know if they voted, but I don't think you can go look and see who they voted for.
That's a really good question, Clay. Like I've never prosecuted an elected official before. I've never asked that. Had to come across a situation where I'd have to ask that question of order. It's relevant to me, but I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I don't know if you can. That's going to be relevant in the Trump thing, though. Whether can you ask, did you vote for Donald Trump or not vote for Donald Trump? I think it's kind of relevant.
And you're going to say, just like the COVID shot, none of your business.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of it, if you're Trump's lawyers, you're going to want to know that.
Yeah.
I think you'd want to know that. But do they, I think they probably would have, my guess, and I don't know this for 100%, is that they're going to have to say that, but I've never prosecuted an elected official, so never asked that question before.
That's interesting.
That's a really good point.
Just is there a way to go look and see who somebody voted for? I mean, legally, can you go pull a ballot and look at the name and say, all right, this person...
I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think you can, but you could ask the question. I think in voir dire, if you're asking the question like, did you vote for Donald Trump or did you vote for John Sullivan?
Well, they could, if they ever
did they ask that question? You weren't there for that portion, so
no. But like when they audit these elections, occasionally. Whole nother conversation. Maybe Jerry can answer this question for us.
Yeah, Kim Wade could talk about this at 4-2-4-6.
When they audit an election, even a local one like this, you had to verify the signatures.
Yeah.
on the ballot. So if you can pull the ballot to verify the signature, you can see who they voted for.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if, for example,
can you do a public records request? Is what you're trying to say?
I was going to say, yeah. If Shaun Yurtkuran or Clay was going to make a public records request, could I go find out who my state representative voted for?
I know
something like that.
I know you can find out which primary they voted for because political candidates do that against each other all the time. They're like, oh, so and so voted the Democratic Party primary in 1986, so he's not a Republican.
I saw somebody giving Jill Ford hell not too long ago, and she went back and got him in the comments and said, well, you didn't even vote the last two times, the last time or something like that. So she was able to pull. You
can do that.
Pull that and know if that person voted or not.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know if you actually look at the ballot that I'm just you as a regular citizen. I don't think you can, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, very interesting. Unknown person here says, oh, that's a lot. I'm not going to read all that. Sorry. All right, let's take a break real quick. Come back, land the plane for the week with Shaun Yurtkuran. Back into the last segment of the week here on the Clay Edwards Show. We've got Shaun Yurtkuran here in the studio with me. Shaun, we had a lot of stuff this week. You were in 3 times.
Yeah.
From elections to Goon Squad to John Sullivan. We had a lot this week.
It's been a lot.
It has.
To our new election heist. That's what I call it. That's a new term, election heist.
Because you just know that he doesn't want to say.
No.
Does not want to say election theft. Hey, look, I got a text here from somebody who may be able to help us out on our voter roll question. He'll stay unnamed. It says, the voter rolls show the last time you voted and if it was Dem or Republican, but the only way there's a name with a ballot is the absentee or affidavit ballot where it's needed to prove the actual person is voting.
That's right, because you don't write your name on the ballot you cast. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I guess there's no way to find out other than an affidavit. If that's good information.
That's good information. Yeah, that
good
really
information.
Is.
Appreciate that, my friend. Let's see here if we got anybody else we need to clear up on the text. Man, I really do appreciate you guys texting in all the time, and girls. I don't always get to read all of them, but I do appreciate it. Let's see here. Yeah, a lot of people kind of clearing up our question about the ballots. Mm-hmm. Hey, somebody texted me a link about Brandon Presley. Real quick, if y'all go look on, I retweeted it. Our Department of Public Safety Commissioner, Shaun Tyndall, absolutely castrated and dropped in the hot grease, Brandon Presley yesterday. Brandon was popping off at the mouth on Twitter.
Oh, was he?
About how could a guy that's not actually been in law enforcement run DPS and this, that, and the other. And Shaun stepped up out of nowhere and from downtown knocked him out.
What he was making fun of Shaun.
Yeah, basically saying that when he's governor, only law enforcement will run DPS. I mean, I don't think you could ask for a better, regardless of your political leanings, you couldn't ask for a better dude to be running DPS.
I agree with you actually because
there's done a better job than Shaun Tyndall.
I'll tell you this from what I know from being in the legal community and people that work there that are friends of mine. Everybody sings that guy's praises that I've ever talked to. That I've got several friends who've worked there before, and I've heard nothing but good things about him. And I don't know him personally, never met him, but I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about him. Like because behind the scenes we all talk about these guys. Sure. Politicians are like that guy's a jerk, and this guy. I've never heard one bad thing about him. I've heard nothing but good things. Man, look, even if I was on the ropes because of the things about Tate I'm unhappy about, and I was considering voting for Brandon Presley, that's a deal breaker for me. I'm going to go check that out. That's because he's Shaun Tyndall's kind of the one state, I don't want to call him, he's appointed, whatever, and that I've just heard just nothing but positive stuff about. That's that's kind of surprising.
I think every aspect of his job. And you just need to go look. I think there's 7 organizations under DPS. Only 2 of them are law enforcement, Capitol Police and MHP.
Yeah.
So he does a lot more than just law enforcement. And law enforcement heads, law enforcement guys run those divisions.
Because wasn't it Marshall Fisher that ran it before him, I think?
I believe so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's done a great job. Shout out to Shaun Tyndall. Go look at that tweet. It's at SaveJXN. Who is next? Jim Thorne next, followed by Jameson Haygood. Kim Wade will close out the day from 4 to 6, and we'll be back Monday. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week as the Clay Edwards Show discusses all that is going on in and around the city of Jackson.
This concludes our broadcast day.
Right here on 103.9 WYAB.